You read the title. I wrote the title. You know, it's my only job now. Yeah, I have been out of a real job for almost 2 weeks now, I think. I'll just get right into it by not getting right into it and starting actually from the very beginning of my career, which was like everybody else, McDonald's, what's up? That and every job after, I've been quick to be thought of as being promoted or being a manager or something. I was only 16 when I had the job at McDonald's, so they kind of wanted to bump me up to whatever the trainer was, and then if I were of age, they would have made me a manager. Then I didn't have another job until I worked at the movie theater, which was my sophomore year of college, the sophomore summer, so junior year. That job was lit. They also wanted to make me a manager, but I was in school, so what actually ended up happening was the GM fought for the shift lead position to be brought to our location, and I was the first ever shift lead there. Hopefully that's correct. After that, I wanted to make a little bit more money, so I got the job that I just had, and that was 2 years ago. So the job that I just quit, I've had for 2 years. I've loved it for most of that, but that's what we're about to get into. But before I super get into that part, I want to go over some like keywords of positions just to make it a little bit easier. So at this job, we've got like the team member who's just like the cashier, and it was a food place, so we had people in the kitchen. And then you've got like the trainers. We had a different name for it, but it's too confusing anyway, and it's just kind of a transitionary position between team member to manager, because then you've got the managers who are just like the on-shift people who open and close the store. And then you've got the AGM, which is the assistant general manager, and then you've got the general manager, and then above them is the area manager. So it goes team member, trainer, manager, all the way up to area manager, and then they have their own bosses, and it goes all the way up to corporate. Who cares? Now that you know those terms, because I'm going to try to use those as much as possible to not give away names or anything, because this is more of me venting still and trying to process quitting, because it wasn't necessarily something super bad that happened, or like, let me just tell you the story. So when I got my new job, I was super excited. I loved it. I finally got to work in a kitchen, and it was more than just putting like frozen pretzels into an oven. And I actually got to only work in the kitchen instead of being trained as a cashier, because a lot of the times I go to apply for jobs, I usually want to do the more background thing, like driving a golf cart instead of being a greeter, or working in the kitchen instead of taking orders, because at the movie theater, like, I was all up on that cash register. I was so good. When I would take drive-thru orders at McDonald's, I'd be like, oh my god, welcome to McDonald's, what can I get for you today? So much fun. But I love cooking anyway, so I'd much rather just be in the kitchen, just not talking to customers. This new GM, who was awesome, literally the best boss I've ever had, he was like, okay, even though I think you'd be really good as a cashier, we can start you in the kitchen, and we can start you off at $10.50. And I was like, because Wisconsin minimum wage is $7.25, I left the movie theater job at $8.50 after getting like 4 raises, and that was like my shift lead pay. It's whatever. I was like the employee of the month or whatever, I think 2 months into my work at this place, and there was talks of if I wanted to be a manager or not, and I said the same thing, like, I would love to, but I have to finish school. I literally had 1 year of school left, and I was like, let me figure out how to do this job in the summer, go to school in a different state, come back on breaks, I can start training because I'll be graduated, and then you can have me as a manager. Dope plan. That's what started to happen. So I graduated, yay. And then I came back and I was like, all right, I'm done. You can make me a manager now. And they were like, all right, cool. That's what's gonna happen. I started training at the end of June that would be 2019, I think. Literally, I had just started training, and then right at the beginning of July, me and two other... That's them. I'm in trouble. Me and someone who was already a manager and another person who was going to be promoted to manager along with me, we were all approached about helping to open a new store about a 5-10 minute drive down the highway. And at first all of us were like, no, because our store was so awesome. It was literally so much fun to come into work and work. It was so much fun, and our GM would like stick up for us, dude. It was great. So obviously we're all like, no, we're gonna stay here, especially because they said we'd be managers either way. So I mean, unless they were like, well, you can only be a manager if you go there, I probably would have, I guess. But yeah, right away we all said no. Thanks anyway. And then I think we got asked again because they made a list, and of the list we were like the top workers, which I agree. Yeah, we wanted to be the best workers at the place we learned how to be the best workers with a bunch of other great workers. So again, we were all like, no. Me and the two other people who were going to be brought to that store started talking about, well, I'm not gonna go unless you go, and then it turned into, I'll go if you go. So they said yes, and I was like, all right, this is exactly what I was worried about. Also, I think I was coming back from Missouri, and my GM actually said, hey, we're all gonna talk about it. Or I think it was just, he said it was just gonna be us, and then when I got there, it was literally all of us, and I was like, okay, here we go. I remember they were like, okay, so we're gonna ask you one more time. Also, you'll be starting at $14 an hour. And immediately I was like, oh, shit. Yeah. We all said yes. We were getting excited because, you know, we won't necessarily be alone, and our new GM was seemingly pretty cool, and we hadn't met our AGM, but she was awesome, dude. Actually, I don't know if I said yes right away. I think I was gonna talk to some people about it, which one of them was my GM, and I asked him, like, what are the pros and cons of me leaving, staying, whatever, because I'm gonna be a manager regardless. But he said that the NRO, the new restaurant opening, would look really good on a resume, but then I argued, I'm not trying to be with this company for the rest of my life because, you know, YouTube, and hopefully like voiceover things or something a little bit closer to what I graduated college for. So there was that, and you know what, he said that obviously I was starting to be a manager, and there was talks of me becoming an assistant general manager, whether it would be starting to open this new store and maybe putting the AGM promotion off a little bit, or staying at the store I was at and definitely being considered for the AGM position, but not necessarily knowing when that would be taken into effect. So I was like, okay, if I do need it on my resume, it's good to have it. And I mean, it's good to have it regardless of, like, I transferred stores to help open a new one. I was picked basically to do that. Fuck it, right? $14 an hour, whatever. So then there was training week, which was, I believe, the end of July, and it was literally one of the worst times in my entire life. It wasn't even that bad. It was just, you're going to a restaurant business and you know what to do. And the trainers that they bring from different states or whatever, you don't know them, but they're chill or whatever, and they know what they're doing. But like, every new employee has no fucking clue what's going on. And that's every single person. It's not just like a filter of, you know, we have people who know what they're doing, and then, you know, we've got the new trainee from time to time. But this time, it was all the trainees all at once, and the only people who knew what was going on were half the people that were gonna leave at the end of this training week anyway, and then me and one of the three people that were asked, like, we had just started to be trained as managers, and we were just kind of thrown into it, you know, and the other person who was with us had been a manager for a couple months, so we were pretty new as well, especially because I'm really good in the kitchen. One of the people was really good at working up front, but they didn't need us for that. They needed us to be managers, and we were like, okay, we can do that, but I thought this training week was also going to include us, as in training us, not us being managers, because I didn't know how to do that. It was whatever. It was very, very stressful. Anyway, we opened the store in early August, and so many people quit. I don't know if it's because it's a food service job and a lot of people don't like that, or if it was because it was a lot of like teenagers and it was right before school started, or it's just because it's teenagers. Fuck. After that training week, you know what? I don't know. I might have quit too, but whatever. And you know what? We got really, really busy. We did so much business, and normally we would get racked at the other store we were at a lot, especially because this other one wasn't open and couldn't, you know. Right? A lot of us were used to the busyness of it all, but not necessarily in a community that's full of a bunch of bitches. I'm never, ever wouldn't even think about it, getting anxious thinking about it right now, would ever be rude or even close to anything like that to a service worker, retail worker, whatever, because one, I've been there. Two, why would you? I don't care if you're having a bad day, you don't need to have them have a bad day. If they made a mistake, you make mistakes too. Anyway, hopefully you feel the same way. Hopefully I don't have to explain too much as to why you shouldn't be rude to service workers. But I digress. These people in this town sucked. They were so mean over food you can make at home for literally less than $5 when we give you one serving of it for like 7 or 8. So anyway, I tried to look back through a couple of my messages to my friends, because I know when I was starting to be promoted as a manager, I told everyone, I'm like, yo, they're making me a manager, or they want to, or I'm being trained as one. And then again, when I had first had the conversation with my original GM of possibly one day being an AGM, and I told people, I was like, yo, I'm gonna be AGM, I'm so excited. Another small detail that would be very important is that one of the pros to moving to the store was that we were basically promised to have replacements so that we could go back to our home store, because we all loved it so much and it was hard enough for us to switch stores anyway. So they said within 3 to 6 months maximum that they'd have our replacements and we could go back to our store. Newsflash, that never happened. Back to what I was saying. I'm pretty sure that I was in talks with being an AGM at the new store. I really want to say it was before Corona hit. Like before March, February, initial Corona hit. I'm pretty sure my new GM gave me a packet for like filling out and tracking my progress to become an AGM, because we knew our current AGM was trying to go back to her home store, because her home store was even farther than ours, so she had to drive hella long. And yeah, Corona hit, and I was like, okay, I don't want to work right now. In my opinion, we didn't have enough managers, and this was 6 months after opening the store, which is when they promised us we could go. It was still just us 3. So no new managers. Technically there was 5 because you include the GM and AGM, but of the shift managers, it was me and the 2 other people. And I remember we'd have manager meetings whenever I would tell my GM, hey, we need to have a manager meeting. And then when we had them, it was always like, hey guys, who do we promote to manager? And every time it would be this person if they were 18, or nobody. Which I didn't necessarily think that was on us shift managers, other than to track the progress of the team members and then help train. I thought there would also be like, I don't know, advertising for not only team member positions but management positions, but I don't know, I was left out of the loop of a lot of things, including when I came back from Corona, which I was gone from, I think, April to June. And I believe it was June 11th that I found out there was a new guy, a new manager coming from another store to help us out and see if he was gonna stay. And I was like, that's awesome. We need more managers. Hopefully he's cool. Can't wait to meet him. Going to work that day and meet him. He's super awesome, really great at his job. And I was like, yo, do you think you're gonna stay here forever? And he says, yeah, I really like it here. Hopefully when they interview me for the AGM position, I can stay as that. And that is the moment I was like, oh fuck, they haven't said shit to me about any interviews. I know I've been gone on leave, but it was for a super valid reason. Also, I feel like they would have reached out to me during that time period if we've talked about me being an AGM before, to at least say, hey, you know, if you want to be one, you got to come back and start training or something. But left out of the loop again. So I remember going home that night freaking out and just asking everyone what I should do, if I should talk to my bosses of like, yo, what the hell, or, you know, just wait for something to happen. I was like, you know what? If they don't even give me a chance, I'm quitting. 5 days later, found out they gave that guy the job. Yeah, obviously, I'm super over it. No problems with this guy. I think he deserved the job. If anybody else would have gotten it, like, yes, please. But I wasn't really even given the chance. I think a week or something later, my AM and my GM, so like the big leagues, wanted to have a meeting with me. And I know it wasn't this, but I really do like to describe it as like a meeting basically telling me why I wasn't good enough, which I know is super Leo and very over dramatic and emotional, but it was pretty much that. Like, hey, we obviously like made him the AGM and not you. A lot of the reasons I was just like, okay. And here's what I mean by that. The time that I was gone, let me say that again. The time that I was gone on leave, not working in the store, they said that when they had other people from other stores helping because Corona and shortness of staff, that they were basically like appalled by our closing routines or the closes in general. Cool. I wasn't a part of that because I wasn't there. I know that when I do close, it's great. Could I do more? Of course, everybody could do more, but out of everyone, no offense, I feel like my closes were like really good. Also, I wasn't there. I wasn't even there, dude. I was at home. So, first of all, not a part of that group. Second of all, remember earlier when I was like, I want to be AGM, you know, I told people, and I forgot to mention that whenever our AM would come in and visit our store, I would tell him like, hello, when are you gonna promote me? Or he'd ask like, oh, is there anything else I can do for you? I'm like, promote me to AGM. One day I even wrote it in his notebook. I was like, make me AGM. But apparently they didn't know that I wanted to be AGM. Oh, it feels so weird saying that because that's not true. The fact that I didn't want to be one because I did, because I said it a lot. I wrote it down. They knew, like they knew. They had to. I just didn't know you wanted to be one. Huh? Okay. Word. I'm pretty sure I was like, well, I did. He even said, he was like, I know you would talk about it and you wrote it in my notebook, but I just wasn't sure. I was like, I don't really know how else to make it more clear. Like, do I have to change my lip tattoo to make me AGM? Or like, show up at your house with a radio that has a song on it that's like, make me AGM. I don't know what you want, bro. But then they brought up that they could still make me an AGM if sales boosted, because every location can have 2 depending on how big their sales are, but that's also not guaranteed. Also, they said that I could be AGM somewhere else, and I was like, I've already moved stores once. I've fallen in love with everyone here. No, I wanted to be a GM here. I remember even before the meeting, my GM was like, okay, we're gonna have this meeting. I was like, oh yeah, to talk about this? Or he said to talk about being an AGM, and I was like, well, didn't you already give this person the position? And he was like, oh, you knew about that? Yeah, I knew about it. Yeah, I forgot to tell y'all that they kind of did behind my back, not really maliciously or on purpose, but like I had to find out from other people, not them, that this guy got promoted. I literally knew none of this promotion, any of this information from either my bosses. Like I heard it from literally everybody else, so that makes me feel weird too. What also makes me feel weird is they asked me, they were like, oh, well, do you want to be an AGM still? And I was like, no, not really anymore. I mean, I did, but like, no, after that happened, like, no, not really. They, I guess, were hoping that I would change my mind because they were like, well, if, you know, in the future, because it could be as soon as 6 months, you know, as maximum of a year, which we both know their deadlines are very wishy-washy. Even in that meeting, my AM was like, well, are you thinking of different jobs? And I said, maybe. I literally, the few nights before, was already looking at different kitchens, different places. I even was about to work with kids. I don't even like kids, dude. I was that close? And then we ended the meeting. I think I drove home and cried that day, for sure. I think I cried all that morning, too. Whatever, it's not like I wanted to be AGM or anything. But yeah, I decided to ask them. Oh, I forgot about my favorite part, which was at the end of that meeting, they asked if there was anything they could do for me, if I had any questions, and I was like, how do I go about using my PTO? Because I'm not about to leave this job without getting some paid time off. So they told me how to do that, except they kind of told me how to do it incorrectly, or they told me how to do it correctly half sort of way there, because when I tried to apply for PTO, I wasn't given PTO, and I was gonna take PTO on the week of the 4th of July so that I could have that whole ass weekend to look for other jobs, but I was not given the PTO. So I took PTO at the end of July because I'd figured, you know what, should I quit, should I not? And in the end I was like, yeah, that was shady. I don't really want to be here after that happened. And I told them in that meeting, I was like, I know y'all didn't do this on purpose or maliciously, hopefully, but like it hurt. Oh yeah, they asked me, they were like, did like, does it upset you? And I was like, yes. Like, I'm not just like, oh yeah, give a guy the promotion that you didn't promise me, but I thought, you know, you basically, I don't know, I wanted it, or apparently I didn't. Anyway, I finally came to the conclusion that I was going to stick it out for half of August, quit on the 11th, take the rest of August off, and go back to a different job in September, or hopefully YouTube pops off by then. Subscribe. Put my 2 weeks in 2 weeks before I said the day I was quitting, so July 28th. I put my 2 weeks in then, and literally the day of, not 20 minutes later, my AM calls me. Oh yeah. Because when I was taking the PTO, he tried to call me about my development of being an AGM, and he literally said I would be ignorant not to know that you're looking for other jobs, and I was like, oh shit. Which, not a surprise, I was literally telling everyone at the store that I was donezo. If word got around, word got around. If he's, you know, obviously he kind of knew when I told him in the meeting, like, yeah, maybe I'm looking for other jobs. I am. Called back, he picked up, started talking about developing me as an AGM, and I was like, I literally quit. And he was like, oh no, now I'm depressed. And I was like, fucking now? Yeah, one, you should be. I was literally like one of the most fantastic workers there. Sorry, but I like to put in effort and not have everyone else have to have a shit shift. He said if there's anything I can do to, you know, have you stay, that'd be great. And I was like, haha, no. Because basically the only way I was gonna get more money was being promoted. And I was already only making $1 more than one of our most recent hires as a team member. So I was like, this whole thing is shady. So yeah, I had planned for August 11th to be my last day, and then on August 2nd, I believe, my GM comes up to me and talks to me about my 2-week notice for the first time and says, I know you put in your 2 weeks, but is there any way we could extend that? And I was like, what does that mean? Are you trying to have me stay forever? Because no, you didn't even want me in the first place, really. Yeah, what? So basically he wanted me to stay an extra week so that they could get my replacement trained in time. So I was like, okay. I mean, as long as I don't have to work on my birthday, that's chill. Then a few days later, there was, I can't really talk about it because it's a secret. But for real, I don't know if I'll get in trouble or not, but there was just some things that happened that I was like, yo, what's this? And we have a manager group chat, and basically the bosses were like, oh no, that's fine. And I was like, ooh, I don't know. It seemed like they didn't trust me. Like, they wanted me to double check, and I was like, that's why I'm texting you, is because I've triple checked and now I don't know what to do. Like, I'm not just freaking out at the first sign of danger. But anyway, oh my god, I'm making it seem so much worse than it was. But I don't know, was it? Because then I sent pictures of evidence, shall you say, and nobody said shit. I was like, okay, normally in this group chat, we're up each other's asses, but then I send this, basically like outing a problem that we have right now, and no one has anything to say. Okay, especially because I thought this was such a big issue months ago. Whatever. Hopefully you feel my pain and you can understand. Maybe I can like send some signals as to what happened. But yeah, I told my manager friend that if no one said anything in the group chat by the end of the night, I was gonna revoke my week extension, which is exactly what happened because no one said anything. And I was like, you know what? One, I'm not being like taken down for something that wasn't my fault if this does end up being like a big issue. And two, you don't get to ghost me like the boys on Tinder do, okay? They have a reason. I don't know if you necessarily do. Especially because I was trying to do y'all a favor. And then after being like, fuck you, you're also like, oh, by the way, fuck you some more. I know a lot of this seemed very intense and as if I'm full of rage or some shit, but I'm just sad, disappointed, a little upset because I left my home store, like, dude, that shit was so hard for me to do. And then I finally got a new home store that I loved. And I don't want to say they made me quit, but they basically did, you know? Whatever, I don't have a job anymore, so Venmo me? For real though, thank you so much for watching this video, and if you want any more crazy stories about said job, I've got plenty because, dude, fine, I'll say it. Our GM was mean, dude. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe and comment down below, and thanks for coming to my TED Talk.